we're asking all our guests on the show in this series this particular question. What do you think HR leaders can do to help prepare their organisations for a future where there will likely be an increase in remote and hybrid working?
Okay, well, I'll say that the pandemic has resulted in unforeseen disruption to our workplaces. Similar, just like you, same here. Since April this year, Singapore, we started our circuit breaker, and we all started working from home. So same here, I have also been at home from April till now, and I have not traveled. So sad, right? So essentially, so I think that this situation has, although in Singapore has gotten better, but I think that it has created such a disruption that much of individuals' everyday life has changed. And I think that remote and hybrid working has become a new normal. And I think even after the pandemic, who knows? And I think it's going to stay basically. So I think that hybrid and remote working will continue to stay for as a norm for majority of workforce even after the pandemic. So I think it's here to stay and remain, and it's just going to be part of work arrangements that we have to do. So we certainly need to consider how HR can enable remote and hybrid working for sustainability. So that is really important. I think a few areas that I guess HR can consider. Well, I guess the first area is for HR to be able to communicate to their business units, to their employees, of the need to shift from physical working space to now a remote and hybrid working one. So that's important, but also for HR to ensure that the business function of HR is not disrupted. So HR functions are still delivered with minimal disruption. Secondly, I think that because it's a new form of working arrangement, so certainly for us as employees or even as managers, we need to be able to understand how do we communicate or work with teams that are really virtual. So HR, I guess, in a way can provide guidelines or best practices to the line managers who are remotely managing their workforce on how to better engage their employees online. Yeah, so that is important. And certainly, for example, from the SHG perspective, on learning and development, training used to be physically face-to-face, but how do we do L&D now when things are virtual? So how do we still continue to not just engage our employees, but at the same time give them that space to learn more effectively, even if it's a virtual setting?
Yeah.
So that's I guess a second point that HR could consider in operating in such unique circumstances that is here to stay. And I think the third point is something that HR may consider now as working with businesses themselves. So with today's situation, I think that automation and the use of technology is just going to increase tremendously. Yeah. And this is probably going to affect business models and how jobs are being redesigned. So as HR, maybe it's important for us actually, I think, to work with the business side of the house to understand the changes in the business strategy and how workforce strategy can come in to complement. So in maybe I'll just share a 4B approach that we talk about in SSG. So what are these 4Bs? So it is buy, build, borrow, bought. So as businesses are now looking at increasing automation or the usage of technology, knowing when to buy means that knowing what and when to recruit fresh talent from the external labor market, knowing when to build, which is what kind of capabilities do we want to build your existing workforce with. Of course, you can't keep buying. How do you build and enhance the skills of your existing workforce? That's build. Borrow is where considering perhaps as part of your value chain as businesses, knowing what kind of partners do you want to partner with so that you can borrow their capabilities. You borrow their networks, for example, to enhance your business model offering. So that's on borrow. Bought is knowing when to consider business processes that can be automated. So that's bought. But maybe also at the same time as job roles are automated, as HR, what do you deal with workforce that are affected because of automation that takes place? So buy, build, borrow, bought. I would say the 4B approach of how business operation is going to change and how HR come in then to support the business changes. So these are just four areas and that I'd like to talk about. But maybe just leave HR with also some questions to think about. So firstly, so what are some of the key challenges of remote and hybrid work, and how prepared are you as HR to cope with such challenges? So that's one question you can think of as HR. Secondly, what are some of the possible new roles foreseeable for HR professionals because of maybe an enhanced use of technology and automation? So for HR, what kind of skills will be required for you to help your company make remote and hybrid work mainstream and more effective? So that's second question. Third question is that, okay, with technology, how can HR technology be now incorporated and to facilitate remote and hybrid work?
In this series, we will be speaking to a range of senior leaders who are pushing a data-driven and digital HR agenda. Make sure that you subscribe via your podcast app of choice and also via our YouTube channel for free and regular interviews with the digital HR leaders of the future.